So, we are still on mental life education. I believe that those of you who have subscribed to my channel are still enjoying mental life education. Mental life education, as we've already learned, look at how to correct the behavior of our thinking towards problems of life in order to have a quality thoughts or quality thinking life. Out of this, we can derive permanent happiness, permanent joy, permanent contentment in this world. Problems are inevitable in life. You cannot do away with problems. So if you are having the mindset of running away from problems, it is impossible to run away from problems. The only thing that you have to do towards problem is to change the behavior of your thinking towards a problem. There are some problems, when you change the behavior of your thinking towards them, they themselves run away. Today, we are going to look at the relationship between the behavior of our thinking and the Word of God. One of the tools that we use in correcting or changing the behavior of our thinking is the Word of God. There are two tools. We use principles of life and the Word of God to do that. Hebrews chapter 4 verse 12 says, the Word of God is alive and powerful, sharper than any two-edged sword, piercing even to the dividing asunder, and it is a critic of thoughts and intentions of the hearts. So Bible is saying the Word of God criticizes the behavior of our thinking towards problems of life. And so if the Word of God does that, that means we have to pay attention to the Word of God because it contains solutions to the problems associated with the behavior of our thinking towards problems of life. Generally, we all think negatively towards problems. We forget that problems are good. We can gain happiness from problems. We can gain joy from problems. We can gain knowledge from problems. We can gain endurance from problems. We can gain new skills from problems. We can gain an enhanced quality thinking from problems. But generally, we interpret problems to be negative. All this is happening because of the behavior of our thinking. Is it not good to change the behavior of your thinking? So let's delve into the Word of God, which says the Word of God criticizes the behavior of our thinking. I'm making reference to Hebrews chapter 4, verse 12. Again, in Jeremiah chapter 17, verse 9 downwards, it says, the thought is deceitful and desperately wicked. Who can know it? Whenever the Bible talks of thoughts, it is talking about the behavior of our thinking. So the Bible is saying the behavior of our thinking is deceitful and desperately wicked. Who can know it? That means it takes the wise to know, to identify the deceitfulness and the wickedness of the behavior of our thinking towards problems of life. So, if the Bible says who can know it, then we are fortunate to know that. So, your thinking towards problem, is it worry? The behavior of your thinking towards problems of life, is it worry? Is it anxiety? Is it bitterness? Is it jealousy? Is it anger? Is it self-pity? Is it regret? Is it guilt? Is it loneliness? Is it depression? Which of these? Is it stress? Generally, these are the behavior of our thinking towards problems of life. The Bible is saying these things are wrong. They are wrong not just because God hates them, but they are wrong because they have negative effects on our life. There is a study, those who have learned psychosomatics in the field of medicine, which look at the effects of our thinking behavior on our health and the organs of the body. Fear, an extreme fear, can damage your brain. It can even make you develop personality disorders, bipolar disorders. It can destroy and weaken the organs of your body. Many people get hypertension as a result of fear. Many people get cancer as a result of fear and regret and guilt that have dominated their life over a long period of time. So if the Bible says, "Fear not, for I am with you," this is the word of God. It means that God has identified a behavior in your thinking which is fear. So he wants you to use his word to correct that fear in your mind. Many people who think that God is not relevant in their life and we only have to focus on principles of life and God is not important, do not know what the word of God can do. Without the word of God, you cannot change the behavior of your mind towards problems of life. It's a fact, and it is a principle in life. That is why the word of God is important. Because the word of God is powerful. Why is it powerful? Because it can change the behavior of your thinking towards problems of life. How is it done? The process is what we are going to study. I am a mental life educationist. I have also learned how to use the word of God to change the behavior of my thinking towards problems of life. You can also do that. Paul in the Bible did this, and many also did it. Romans chapter 12 says, in verse 2 says, "Be transformed by the renewing of your mind." What does God want to say? In other words, be transformed by changing the behavior of your thinking towards issues of life. If you can change the behavior of your thinking towards issues of life with the word of God, then there is no problem you cannot overcome. This is a skill God wanted the Israelites to cultivate, to develop. So he took them to the wilderness to learn how to use his word to change the behavior of their thinking. But the Israelites misconstrued God. So the word of God focuses on our thinking, the behavior of our thinking. The word of God will help you identify the problem with the behavior of your thinking and how to use faith, the principles of faith, to correct the behavior of your thinking. And in applying the word of God to correct the behavior of our thinking, we use the principles of faith. Faith involves 3 R's. 3 R's. And I have added 4 R to it, making it 4 R's. 1, you have to receive the word of God in your mind. 2, you have to retain the word of God in your mind, the promises of God in your mind. 3, you have to remember the promises of God in your mind. And 4, you have to rely on the promises of God in your mind. This is what I call the process of faith. Bible says, "Fear not, for I am with you." So when you identify fear in your mind as a behavior of your thinking towards a problem, the word of God which says, "Fear not," is in your mind. You just remember it. After remembering the word, you rely on it to change the behavior of your mind, to change the behavior of your thinking towards a problem. Then the problem is solved. So you are not applying the word of God to change the problem. You are applying the word of God, you are remembering the word of God to change the behavior of your thinking. I am a mental life educationist. We'll continue to learn this in our subsequent lesson. Thank you.